I want to. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I want to go over a majority of what happened on Monday Night Raw from April 24th, 2020. We have issued off an address of McIntyre over the accepted challenge by Seth Rollins to face off against Drew McIntyre at Money in the Bank. In the climb for corporate, not power or anything cooler. They are still going to do the operation, grab the briefcase, get the opportunity, become world champion. Other than what they did the years before, when I think they only done it twice, like at least twice. Back at I think Rumble '93 and 2016, where if you win, Ric Flair would be the first one to win the WWE title or WWF title off the off the Royal Rumble, and then Triple H would do it in 2016, with Roman Reigns being the last person to be eliminated. And practically, that would be the most unique thing I've seen in a while. Next up, we have climb the corporate ladder, or just get into WWE's HQ up in Connecticut for an opportunity to become Mr. Money in the Bank, or Mrs., and become the instant wild card when it comes to a championship event, because you can do it whenever and wherever you want. Do I think that's a cool concept? Do I think to climb the corporate ladder part would be the most interesting thing you'll see in a while in WWE? Yes, I do have some doubts that WWE might deliver this poorly. They got the right guys. They have Daniel Bryan. I don't care about most of the qualifying matches they did for on Raw. No one cares about Rey Mysterio. I think it's already underwhelming enough. He already sold his time as it is. I thought it'd be better. Just I didn't care if it was all high flyers, man. I wouldn't mind Buddy Murphy, Apollo Crews in it with only Daniel Bryan from SmackDown. I think SmackDown's a 2-hour show. They have to leave those qualifiers for later, and plus future feuds that they still have in the works. So, McIntyre came off a surprise sneak attack by Andrade after Zelina Vega pointing off his one Mania moment, and then later on there would be a match involving Austin Theory against Alistar Black. No on-shoot stuff. I thought the opening match was fine. I don't care that much about Austin Theory, to be honest. I think he's a well-conditioned dude. He's literally a Roderick Strong of himself. He's a good, well-conditioned guy. He just has no personality. It's just athleticism sinking for him mainly. And he had an alright match with Akira Tozawa. I thought that running senton over to his shoulder, where it nearly looked like it popped, was one of the worst spots I've seen. Next to later on in the night, but we'll get through it. It then ended with a surprise black mass, a bicycle knee to the face. Jerry King Lawler just came with the most corny jokes to just calm Zelina Vega whenever Tom Phillips would say something that would offend Zelina Vega. And just the worst one was, hear this. It's okay, Zelina. You're like a photo. You're like a camera. Every time I look at you, I smile. And I just cringed as hard as you would if you were watching that installment of Monday Night Raw. It's already quiet enough that there's no crowd reaction. At least shows like Impact or AEW at least get like roster involvement to probably further up storylines, or at least try to convey the notion that they have some sort of reaction to make the matches feel like there's something going on than feeling like we're practicing in the ring, even though we haven't done a live audience since early March. So it is tough. In the Money in the Bank qualifiers, obviously Aleister Black is going to win. And then we had Shayna Baszler against Indy Hartwell. It did end it off ref stoppage because as soon as she kept doing an arm drag, she stomped on her freaking arm again, just like she did Sarah Logan. But unlike last week, where it ended with somehow Sarah Logan getting the win, and then they just revamped to not even the ref recountering his decision and going to Shayna Baszler and saying you won. It took like Tom Phillips to freaking say out of nowhere that never mind. Thanks to ref stoppage on Sarah Logan. Shayna Baszler's the winner, folks. I want to die. And it just ended up in such an awkward, weird finishing decision. It just makes everything awkward. And seeing how you guys can't F this up, thanks there's no crowd, and it isn't on the fly, and you're literally staying in the same setting. There's no way you guys can't F that up. So it was just an awkward motif and one of the weirder moments on Raw that we had over this quarantine version of Monday Night Raw. The roughest month and a half you'll ever sit down to for a while now. Next up, Cedric Alexander against Shane Thorn from NXT and Brendan Vink. We've seen these guys before in another squash match involving the Street Profits, the Go Home show, like I think 2 weeks before WrestleMania 36. And now here they are, after they lost to the Viking Raiders thanks to a weird Viking experience that ended up being botched, but they still got the 3 count. There was a lumbar check for the finish of the match. A running Meteora, Inzaguri over to the corner. A turnbuckle. Oh, it's 619. This was just to issue the guy's skill. It was fun. Ricochet hit up the recoil that he still uses. I thought the 630 is a fine move, but it's so dumb and indie-rific. I really hate the 630. I don't know why they still haven't developed a tag team yet this is like their 3rd or 4th official match they had together. And they seem to have alright chemistry with each other, thinks they're working like it's a Guerrillas, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show. So I'm just, really disinterested in the way that they're handling this, obviously, because they don't have a bunch of their roster at the moment, especially over the loss of firings. It feels soulless whenever you see a match on Raw and SmackDown thinks they have no crowd, and you literally have to get into the interactions of the commentators and most of the guys that are around that interfere in the match or not. Then we had Kairi Sane and Asuka getting an interview with Asuka saying, said Sane is ready for a rematch against Nia Jax after losing last week. A reason why Nia Jax is having a match against Kairi Sane again, probably to, finish the job. That's messed up. I don't want to say that, but that's practically what happened. Thanks. Right now we're going to get into... Yeah, when I mean finish the job, I mean injure. Her injury record for majority of her wrestlers. She deserves a double ACL injury. I don't mean that. I don't wish upon any wrestler to get injured, but thanks to the way this limped bottom lip McDonald's forgotten character from The View looking like a freaking chicken coop with a fucking muffin top. She looks like every single guest from a Wendy Williams show. She looks like that black auntie that you ignore in conversations. It's just Nia Jax is such an agitating person, and ever since coming back, there's been no change. She had developed no other wrestling maneuver except maybe her finishing move. She still has the same character. She still looks the fucking same, even though she suffered a double ACL injury, and it's been since last April since we saw her after that tag team fatal 4-way for the women's tag titles, and yet nothing has changed. No one's bringing this up to consideration. Maybe we think she should take a bit of a more break because she's coming off of rehab, and practically people need to see her in a different light. Think she hasn't gotten the best reputation over the past few years she's been on the main roster. She came on getting a winning streak, pushing up to turn face after winning the women's title, even though she's been a dominant heel. And then afterwards, she goes up through this weird character trait that she comes in getting awkward feuds with Alexa Bliss, Mickie James, Ronda Rousey, and ends up with never her looking strong or cool or any source of the word. If anybody thinks Nia Jax looks attractive, you fucked a lot of fat women in your life, and there's something wrong with you in that case if you're still not happy with life. I'm just saying, bro. It ended up in a botched, as a botched move over to the second turnbuckle from an attempted buckle bomb off the second turnbuckle where it looks like Kairi Sane injured her back of her neck, and hopefully she comes back 100%, and I hope she's completely fine. Stuff like that, it's obviously on the wrestler who attempted the move because you're supposed to secure the wrestler's safety. Fucking turnbuckle spot. The same thing happened to Sting years ago, back in a buckle bomb attempt by Seth Rollins. Guess what? That fucker can barely even try to take a bump anymore, and he hasn't been wrestling since Night of Champions of 2015. Don't you dare give me that excuse over Nia Jax. She's a seasoned veteran. She's been in the main roster for the past 3 years, and she's injured R-Truth, Alexa Bliss, trying to treat her like a goddamn ragdoll. R-Truth off back from an attack at the number 30 spot back in the WrestleMania from the Royal Rumble before, and punched Becky Lynch in the face, legit, in a SmackDown versus Raw assault from like 2017 or 2018. You cannot tell me that she's not that she is a safe worker. You can't go against that fact. She's obviously a liberal, selfish, fat acceptance, uninspired she-male that obviously has no respect for the business, has no respect for fans, has no respect for the other wrestlers that she works with. And she obviously half-asses in the ring, thinks all she does is the same moves that she's been doing for the past 4 years. And yet WWE still wants to build her up legitly, all because she's fat and she's big and she looks like Umaga with bigger titties. That's practically it. If anybody, I have lost respect for many wrestlers over the years for shit like that. I don't care if they're a good wrestler or they come off a lineage or literally brought up in the company because of your name. And that's why most people hate you at this point. Even the smarks dislike you from this terrible, goddamn kind of animosity you bring into the business. And if Vince still finds this okay, and you're not on the firing, lined up in front of the firing squad over a majority of freaking Rusev and the Revival getting released, well, Revival after the release, Rusev came off of left field, and so did Kurt Angle and Drake. Well, technically not Drake Maverick. We don't know what's going to happen then, but I'll get more on that information later. You just don't deserve a job. There's guys that are irrelevant from TV, and there's people that are too dangerous to be in TV. Next up, we had after Nia Jax obviously won off the Samoa drop. We had Bobby Lashley tossing tires to build up probably his big man frame again because he hasn't been a threat since he won the Intercontinental Championship, and then that blow off feud that started with him spearing Braun Strowman in the stage back in like summer of last year. Just why they kept doing this. Lana seemed to be back on the up and up with Lashley over the past couple weeks of him doubting their relationship, saying that he needs a new manager, that she's obviously loud and annoying and incredibly needy, and I'm sure like Lashley never noticed this since their goddamn marriage like months ago back on Raw in the most worst segment probably on Raw history involving Liv Morgan somehow being homosexual. I'm sorry, lesbian. I think I gotta say it a different way for certain people. And just former marriages involving Bobby Lashley. And then Rusev came out the cake, obviously, because obviously Rusev was going to come to continue the stupid feud. But thanks, their relationship was dying over the past couple weeks. Somehow it was resurged over Lashley tossing tires. I guess that their relationship's back to normal, obviously because Rusev is released, and they need some kind of managerial role for Lana, even though we forgot she was like a wrestler like months ago. After like I think she beat like Liv Morgan one time on Raw. I don't think they continued the feud afterwards. Liv Morgan's like, remember the Riot Squad? I remember the Riot Squad. Hey, do you remember the Riot Squad? I remember the Riot Squad. Didn't they disgrace like Jimmy Anvil Neidhart for just some weird heat against like Natalia just 2 years ago? Obviously, I remember. I don't remember. And if you do remember, something's really wrong with you. You gotta stop reviewing Raw. Rollins speaking from home about responding to the Money in the Bank ladder match challenge back on Raw. It was just weak. It was just weirdly weak. I did not care. We obviously know this was building up to a feud after a freaking curb stomp in the middle of an attack involving, I don't know what kind of unit, just think of a weak name. Send it to me in the comments section below about kind of weird faction Zelina Vega makes with Austin Theory. That's the only non-Hispanic on the group next to Angel Garza and Andrade Cien Almas. It's kind of weird. over defeating Brock Lesnar, Rollins event. And Kevin Owens is somehow not in the mess of a championship opportunity after literally beating the dude who beat Brock Lesnar twice on 2 major pay-per-views the week before. I don't know what they have planned for Kevin Owens. He hasn't been seen on TV in quite a while. And Rollins comes around looking ashamed and embarrassed since losing to Kevin Owens, and they just buffed off that feud off the mat like he got fired. And he's saying he's a leader, he leads a group, and I'm being largely ignored after losing to Kevin Owens, obviously, or not after curb stomping the world champion the night after. Well, 2 nights after, because Drew McIntyre didn't appear. But he did face off against the Big Show, and technically, these commentators are so dumb, they always try to feel desperate to make sure there's real importance into the championship's prestige, and always say first time ever, every damn time, even though for most of the time they say it already happened. You take it like Bret Hart didn't defend the WWF title. The WWF title wasn't defended twice in one night back on WrestleMania 9. Come on, folks. We also had this weird Viking Raiders drive along shit. Like, we care about Ibar holding a freaking turkey leg. And trying to feel like we're developing their characters. We're giving them on the table conversations where we don't give a shit about kayfabe. We're actually making these guys actually feel like we actually have badasses for kids to watch on TV. That we have a dude, both guys looking like they're Minnesota Vikings fans other than actual Viking Raiders. And they're coming around holding a freaking turkey leg because, haha, Viking, and they're driving a car. So that's a corny segment. We also had Apollo Crews obviously beat MVP. He's been a central jobber since coming back. He's never had a clean win since coming back after the Royal Rumble. He came around getting Claymore kicked against Drew McIntyre after trying to get a managerial career that I think MVP is actually would actually do a good job. And losing to Mysterio, comes around getting sleeper hold by Edge, and now here he comes losing to a central jobber out of Apollo Crews. I don't even know why Apollo Crews is not in the firing squad as well. Hasn't he been losing for like several months now after beating MVP? And MVP came around and just bring up all his accolades after trying to get Apollo Crews and wrestles. I mean, guys like Edge, Jeff Hardy, The Undertaker, Triple H, John Cena, and he still lost. Come around, hit a drop kick, running shooting star press, almost every move you know from Apollo Crews. It's the same moves, and he doesn't tell a story. Other than the most interesting move he had, and probably the best match he had in years since being on the main roster against Alistar Black. A match that didn't even have to be good. It just had to make Alistar Black look threatening. How you telling me Alistar Black gets quick matches against guys like Austin Theory, but he gets a 15-minute match worth 3 commercial breaks against Apollo Crews? If somebody tells me why Apollo Crews deserves to be pushed at this stage of his career when he's been treated like a central jobber, being part of Titus Worldwide, and literally the protege of a dude who kissed his own son in the mouth a few years back, deserves my approval to actually be seen on TV. I don't know who deserves that. You're the same person that probably thinks Jinder Mahal deserved another reign to become WWE champion or something like that, because that obviously does not deserve to happen in any way, shape, or form in the last couple years. Oh my god, I gotta calm down for a moment, man. I gotta calm down. Other than that, let's just cut into more backstage stuff. We, of course, had Ruby Riott going over an interview with Charlie involving her history with Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan over her group after the shoulder injury, and that she's independent now. And didn't she do a promo like this before over her being a sheep and all because she led the Riot Squad? Why did they bring it up like this was such a dominant faction in the women's division? Team Bad was more accomplished than this group. At least 2 of them were women's champions afterward. And we had the Riot Squad. They bring up like such great memories. When it's sad to note when freaking Laycool and Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov have more assumed storied careers than ever the Riot Squad. I don't know why she keeps bringing it up, thinks it's the most relevant part of her career on the main roster. And she comes around losing it anyway to Liv Morgan. So what's the point of making this group? You had 2 matches with almost the same promo, just 2 months separated from each other against Liv Morgan. The point of you doing this? I don't know why. And yet again, you still lost. So the point of you doing that was completely pointless. And you're not pushed. You got smoked back in the Elimination Chamber. You were treated like an afterthought, all because you got all three of you idiots were feuding anyway back at the Rumble. You lost to her clean before without any assistance. Yet, again, even what's the point of you wrestling still, Ruby Riott? I don't get it. You had a flatliner, a freaking flatliner, a triangle drop kick inside of the ring. I think there was a tope, there was a drop kick. Like Ruby Riott had a bit of a. I don't know what was in this match that made it important. I didn't even know the point of this. This wasn't even a qualifying match for the Money in the Bank ladder match for the women. So what was the point of the storytelling involved other than Liv Morgan still had, I guess, loose ends to drive with the Riot Squad? Well, the only person left in the Riot Squad, I think Sarah Logan has just been recently released. So Rey Mysterio faces off against Buddy Murphy for a qualifying match, and Buddy Murphy is still associated with Rollins' group because he hasn't been seen on TV. He got the quarantine beard. He looks like he hasn't seen the sunlight in the last 2 weeks. It's understandable because Vince must have suggested him to stay home or probably a hotel that they stayed in for quite a while. So, yeah, this match was okay. Baseball slide, running a Hurricanrana from the apron, running a Hurricanrana sometimes on the barricade. Bunny Murphy hits him, bicycle knees, and then he does his signature right hand, heel kick. It was like a basic fast paced match. I didn't mind this match. I didn't feel like Mysterio deserved this win over majority of him already have chances, but obviously for the veteran factor, plus for a reason, why in the hell am I watching Money in the Bank to see all these NXT schmucks? I guess it was okay to just get one household name, even though I wouldn't mind MVP coming in the Money in the Bank ladder match. But a reason, I guess, for the source of young talent, we must do this. Like, I want to see Apollo Crews win a match, I guess, or be in a Money in the Bank ladder match for some apparent reason. The match was fine, though. Match was fine. Next up, we had Kaden Carter against NXT Women's Champion Charlotte Flair. I don't know why NXT did this to begin with. I don't know why this would be Vince's idea to make Charlotte NXT Women's Champion for forcible, fucking, I guess, prestige in the championship when it obviously hasn't done anything. She hasn't defended in the last few weeks. She hasn't shown no melange of history or any respect to the other women that held it, especially the Four Horsewomen or the central dick sucking of these are the reason why the women's division should be watchable, even though it still isn't. And yet, all of this still doesn't show an assumed reason why am I watching Charlotte still win belts and do nothing to elevate him. She's a 10-time, like 11-time women's champion, with her second reign being on the main roster and holding on to a developmental championship. It's not like if ECW, if they ever had a women's championship, that they never did, sadly. And yet, she comes around just kneeing the hell out of this jobber that looks like Big Swole if she had an NXT contract, and coming around just kneeing the hell out of her, talking trash, and she ends it off with the figure eight after Carter had a bit of a comeback. The figure eight was basic. She came around waving and mocking her. It was a basic heelish tendency of, I guess, showing that Charlotte Flair is better than her. And it was so corny. It was so basic. It was such a basic squash match. It just showed that Charlotte Flair is legit. And I have huge disagreements with giving an NXT title to a main roster person. It makes no sense. It devalues the championship going to the next guy to become a main roster competitor, and it just basically devalues the championship even more. It's like if Rick Rude or anybody else from back in the day that held the WWF or WCW title holding on to your backyard championship that you made with wood. There would be no point. It's like holding on to a freaking toy. Or making that certain universe mode and you thought of putting some of the main roster guys on. It shouldn't be there. Next up, we had Kira Tozawa against Andrade in a basic match. It ended up with an elevated hammerlock DDT. Rarely see that a lot. And this was after getting Claymore kicked in the face earlier in the night. We had a running senton that was not botched. After Zelina Vega interfered a tiny bit, a kick to the midsection in the middle of the match. Basic running knee to the face, Daniel Bryan style, while Andrade was on one knee. There was barely any selling in the match. It was as basic as it comes to sell the fact that Andrade is still United States champion, even though he hasn't sold any kind of legitimacy thanks to his numerous suspensions over the past couple weeks. He hasn't defended it since Elimination Chamber of February. It is now April. And yet, he still has not shown that he deserves the United States title. Yet, I wouldn't find anybody else to give the U.S. title to than Alistar Black. But we know that we're trying to build up Alistar Black more. But making a U.S. title change right now, wouldn't mind. But out of the past 5 U.S. champions, Andrade is the better one. I guess. He's the best U.S. champion that we've had in years. He at least could wrestle. He has gotten underwhelming matches out of his way, except some of his matches against Humberto Carrillo that we haven't seen since he beat some black jobber. And yet here he is, holding on to the United States title still, even though the only person that steals the show is Zelina Vega, because she's hugely attractive, and she's one of the better talkers on Raw. We also had Bianca Belair against Santana Garrett for some apparent reason, with the Street Profits commentating on her match. With, of course, the Street Profits holding her up because they kept referencing Montez Ford is married to the woman. It's nice to know that he's there to show his moral support. They kept getting excited in the middle of commentary, just be like, "Woo, you're the bestest, you're the strongest," and it was so corny. It's like a weird pun. No one needs that. You don't have to make corny puns unless she does that in her promos in general. And it's the saddest thing ever because she's not a bad wrestler, and she shows that she can sell well. It's great when she's the underdog, but she's building herself up just by squash matches, and I hate that sometimes in certain matches. Why don't you just get her in a storyline already and just build her up from there and see what you can do, and if you can, but get her in some big squash matches to build her up, because all we know is Bianca Belair, she is married to one half of the Street Profits. I just want to see more of these wrestlers than they're just wrestlers from NXT. There has to be more than that. But thanks we don't have much of our roster, we can't do much with Bianca Belair except give her what we got. We have Drew McIntyre face off against Angel Garza, with Angel Garza flirting a bit with Charlie after Zelina Vega's disdain with the result coming from Austin Theory earlier in the night after losing to Aleister Black. And then Angel Garza just acting as corny as possible, coming around. I know, it's just so dumb whenever you see him speak. It's so weird that he's trying to be a womanizer. He shows no sort of emotion other than moving his lips, and his biggest characterization is his damn pants ripping off. Yeah, because he's a womanizer. Other than that, he's gay. The match was fine. It obviously ended off a Claymore kick. You're obviously not expecting something different from WWE. Not even Seth Rollins coming in to interfere for the second time because he's at home from the recording of his promo from earlier in the afternoon. So it just ended up with a running drop kick after drop kick. Garza came tossing Drew McIntyre of 2 sets of the mini-Tron ring posts. But it came off out of nowhere Claymore kick to Garza. The match ended as basic as it can be, but that was the finish of the show. Then Austin Fury, Andrade come to assist and try to attack so they can make themselves more legit. No! Will this keep going until the pay-per-view? Yes. Am I gonna stop trying? Am I gonna stop trying to answer my own question? Probably. Is this review gonna be over? Yes. Raw got a 2. I got 5. I want to give it a solid 5 out of 10. Over the past Raws I reviewed, this was at least sort of watchable. I felt like they were doing it's like too much crap. At least they had more important matches on the line because the women's qualifying matches were too shoddy. It was sluggish, and they didn't tell much of a story about what most of this had. This didn't tell much of a story at all, except like Rollins wants the WWE Championship, even doing nothing to earn it, except losing to Kevin Owens. So Kevin Owens doesn't even get a shot. Randy Orton hasn't shown up. The matches were watchable. Nia Jax in general just makes me happy. Makes me completely happy to just know that there's a pile of shits everywhere, even in the wrestling business. Bobby Lashley's segment of lifting big tires were fun. And Cedric Alexander and Ricochet's matches, fun. Other than that, I thought it was a basic show. It was boring. And it's so fun because barely anybody would review these back because I've never seen anybody review like an old episode of 2019 Raw or 2020 Raw. Thanks, there's barely been any rewatchability other than that one match or that one promo. Not a whole show full of entertainment. And yet again, I'm hearing information about WWE probably doing another 2-night event come WrestleMania 36 in Hollywood, California next year. And I have to say, please do not do that. I am begging you. The Boneyard match was watchable enough. Everything else was rushed, contained, shoddy wrestling that didn't need to happen. It didn't make anybody look good, except The Undertaker. Braun Strowman winning the Universal title didn't do much. There was no feel of energy anywhere. And if they do crap like that again, they better have a good-ass roster or do something completely different. There is no point doing a 2-day event for a show that's supposed to be one of the better shows of the night, not an entire freaking thing. In a business perspective, I guess Vince wants this to go, thanks they're still with the brand split. And thinks Vince is like, let's do 8 matches, make them all great. Well, we're going to do 17 matches and think that they're watchable and get a few that are great. Like, that's why I never rated WrestleMania that well in my 2 reviews. I felt like they were rushed, they were shoddy, and they were just super repetitive. They even did the same kind of intro twice. They didn't even make them unique. They didn't make they made Stephanie intro the night 1 and night 2 Mania. They didn't do Vince any type of thing because obviously he's busy booking or any type of shit that Stephanie doesn't know how to do. And yet people want to give it these high-ass scores, yet there was only 3 or 4 matches that were watchable. Yet like in total they had 20-something matches in a 2-night span. Wrestle Kingdom had less. But that's it coming from me. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. That's all I want to say about Raw. Oh my goodness, my head's about to hurt. But that's it coming from me. Like, comment, and subscribe how you felt about the video and how you felt about Raw. If you have any more news, glad to talk about it. Join the conversation. That's it coming from the DST show.